Hi guys, in this video I wanted to make a brief update of our 250 liter or 60 gallon planted scape. We've set up this tank about a month ago, so it's time for an update on plants and fish that we have here. And overall this tank is doing quite great. All of the plants are growing well, so I will talk about pretty much each of the plants separately. We'll start with this right corner. So here we've got a bunch of Anubias plants. First we have here this Anubias barteri broadleaf. They're all these plants here and they're growing really well here. They don't get too much light, but they just get enough light. Over there in the corner next to the filter inlet pipe there is Anubias nana. It's quite a small bush over there and it's growing well as well. Up there on the edge there is Anubias gracilis. It's a really small bush and it just started to grow recently. I've actually thought that it's going to die because it wasn't doing very well, but I can see now there is some fresh growth going on. And all of these Anubias bushes, they are not attached to wood or anything else. They're actually attached to the glass with suction cups. So they have their roots up there. Over here we've got Cryptocoraini undulata broadleaf. This is actually quite hardy crypt and it grows really well. It started to grow almost immediately after it was planted. It looks really great, bright leaves. Next we've got Cryptocoraini vendi. It's a very beautiful crypt. You can see that all the new leaves are really dark. They're kind of almost black colored. It's slightly more demanding than undulata, so it has taken this crypt a while to get rooted and to start actually producing fresh leaves. Over here we've got Cryptocoraina becketi. It's been a small bush from the start and it started to melt soon after I planted it, and actually I expected all of these crypts to melt, but only becketi started to melt, and it didn't melt down completely. Oh, you can actually see one of our female Honxloa pistos passing by, and that's one as well. So it started to grow back relatively recently and it's doing well, but it's still relatively a weak plant. And this bush here is Cryptocoraini eusteriana. And it grows really well. You can see that there are some fresh leaves going up. I've actually made an error, made a mistake planting it in foreground. It should have been a background plant because it should have really tall leaves. This is Echinodorus ocelot red. It grows really well as well, and I've noticed it from my previous experience that Echinodorus ocelot, it's actually a very hardy plant and it grows really well as long as it has enough nutrition in its roots. So it's a heavy root feeder. If you provide enough nutrition, it's going to grow really well, and each new leaf is just more colorful than the previous one. We've also got some Christmas moss over there on the wood. It grows pretty nice as well. It's not a fast grower. Apparently it doesn't get enough light, but it grows quite well. This is Echinodorus barti. It's a really large plant. It grows really fast as well. It has a root stick in its roots, so it should get enough nutrition, and it's kind of a fast grower as long as it gets enough light, and it's right under the light, so I think it's feeling great. Right next to it is Echinodorus rosé, which looks very similar, but it's slightly broader and it has longer, more elongated leaves. It grows really well as well. It's a fast grower, similarly to barti, and it's quite similar to barti. I thought they will be different, but they're very similar. This is Echinodorus aquatica. I bought it relatively recently. And yes, it's a fast grower, definitely, but it's one of the smaller Echinodorus species, so it's not going to grow tall. It's going to grow relatively low, and it has this lush, broad green leaves. So it's a nice foreground Echinodorus species. This is Echinodorus raini. It's also a small species of Echinodorus, Amazon sword plants, and it's a foreground plant. It's doing great. You can see that all new leaves are kind of reddish, and some of them are really quite red, so this is an indicator that it's doing quite good. Over here we've got Echinodorus ocelot green. It's similar to ocelot red, but it's just greenish, and the other one is more reddish. It's also a fast grower and hardy species of Amazon sword plants. It's a really beautiful plant. You can see lots of markings on its leaves, and the more light it gets, the more markings show up on the leaves. Although if you keep it under bright light, it's likely to be a lower plant. If the light is not sufficient, it's gonna grow tall, it's gonna grow higher. The only plant that doesn't seem to be growing or doing well is this Schematoglossys pretoi. It's an interesting plant, but I don't see any growth on it. It's not dying. It's been like that for almost a month, and it's just not going anywhere. Apparently it doesn't like something. For those of you who haven't watched our previous video on setting up this tank, I will just give a bit of background to what kind of a soil we've got here. So the first layer, which you can't see here, is coconut fiber soil. The second layer is tetra nutritious soil. Some parts of it are noticeable here. And on top we've got just a fine, well, semi-fine river sand, this natural river sand. You can't really see any soil here because of the frame, fish tank's frame. But there's 3 different layers of soil in here. I'm not doing any CO2 injections here, but I'm adding liquid carbon, liquid CO2 on daily basis, and once per week I'm adding fertilizers, this Easy Life Profito fertilizer, after each water change. I'm changing about 50% of water once per week, and right after the water change I will add this fertilizer. In terms of the population, we've got here 2 females of Apistogramma hongsloi. You can see them here fighting. There is also a large group of black neons, cardinal tetras, golden tetras, and a couple of young Bristlenose plecos. So I hope you liked the video. Please leave your comments in the comment section, and do not forget to subscribe if you haven't.